understanding these biodiversity, aquatic biodiversity is crucial for effective conservation. So we are honored to have with us today our eminent speaker, scientist from Geological Survey of India. So Gagana will introduce the speaker.
Good evening, everyone. We are pleased to welcome Dr. K. Subramanian, scientist from Geological Survey of India's Southern Regional Center in Chennai. He is a leading expert in aquatic entomology. His expertise extends to freshwater biodiversity conservation and the application of geographic information systems. Dr. Subramanian has made significant contributions to the field, including the description of over 35 new taxa, the publication of first photographic field guide to the dragonflies of India, and the first GIS-based atlas of Odonata in the Western Ghats. He is a member of the IUCN SSC Odonata Specialist Group and has contributed to the IUCN Red List assessments. Today, he will be sharing his extensive knowledge on freshwater animal diversity of India and conservation challenge. I encourage all participants to actively engage by posting your questions and comments in the chat box throughout this enriching session. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me to deliver this lecture. So I would like to, I have been associated with CES for several years, especially with Professor TVRAMACHANDRA. So it is my pleasure to interact with you again. So I will share my experiences on freshwater biodiversity, especially in the context of conservation and what are the challenges we face in conserving freshwater biodiversity of India. So thank you very much for inviting me again, and I'm very happy to meet Professor TVR in online. Thank you very much, sir. So my today I will be mostly dealing with aquatic. Is my slides visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So freshwater ecosystems, like as you know, if you think that the world is covered with water, but how much fresh water we have? So we have very little fresh water, and if you look at it, most of the world is covered with water, but if you look at how much fresh water is available for living beings, it's very, very small fraction. So only about 0.3% of surface water is available. So most of the water what we have is salt water, or it is in the glacials or underground. So only about 0.3% of fresh water is available, and that we share it with lot of other organisms also. So this surface freshwater, that is mostly in the lakes, reservoirs, rivers, ponds, streams, that is what most of the diversity is located. So what are these freshwater ecosystems? If you look at, they provide lot of ecosystem services, not just like our living, they do a lot of provisioning services, like they do a lot of cultural services. So you know that India being a very ancient civilization, lot of our freshwater bodies are worshipped, and it is part of our culture to worship several freshwater bodies. And also they provide a lot of supporting services like the nutrient recycling, water recycling, or services like storm protection or flood protection, so carbon sequestration. So there are several services which these wetlands provide. And the ecosystem flows, there is all the ecosystem flows, what we call it as that, is very important for the nutrient cycling or the health of the landscapes. And like as I told you, they provide food and also to livelihood opportunities for thousands of people. So agriculture is dependent on freshwater. Several of our crops are based on water availability or livelihood. So several of our freshwater species, both plants and animals, are directly harvested. These are wild harvesting. I'm not talking about cultivated species, but there are several species of both plants and animals that is being used as a source of food and livelihood. And I already mentioned to you about the spiritual significance. So several of our rivers, like especially recently only we concluded the Kumbh Mela, so you know that how many people participated. So several of our rivers and lakes are worshipped by people. And it is not just our this significance, but they are also very important in health. because even if you look at several of our, like most of the people, like more than nearly 8 lakh people die annually because of mosquito bite. So it is a freshwater species. Similarly, there are several waterborne diseases that is transmitted by through wetlands. So they are also very, very important in this human health. And this, you are aware that we have several biogeographic zones in India based on climate and kind of vegetations and other things. So similarly, we also have what we call it as freshwater ecosystems. So there are different freshwater ecosystems in India. Like you have in different biogeographic zones. Like I'm not reading them out, but I will just show there are several biogeographic zones, and each of these biogeographic zones have distinct and unique wetlands. So that is very unique to their bioclimatic conditions and geological conditions. So, and we have something like more than 15 million hectares of wetlands, inland wetlands. So that is about more than 4.4% of the total land mass. Okay, so there are different classifications. Okay, so different classifications of wetlands. So there are inland. I'm not going to read out all these classifications, and you just need to know that we have several of these classification schemes, which basically looks at the geomorphology, how much water is there, or what is the kind of water hydrological conditions. So based on that, these wetlands have been classified, and all these wetlands have distinct fauna and flora based on the characteristics of the wetland. So, but biogeographically speaking, there are about 20 freshwater ecoregions in India. So these 20 freshwater ecoregions are classified based on the biodiversity of the wetland, of the ecosystems and their uniqueness of the ecosystem. So we have in South India, like we have Western Ghats is the entire freshwater ecoregion. So similarly, you have in the southern Deccan, you have southeastern Ghats or southern Deccan Plateau or northern Deccan Plateau. So you have, if you go to Himalayas, there are upper Brahmaputra, upper Indus. Seems like that there are distinct freshwater ecoregions which has characteristic flora and fauna. Because these things comes, especially these are very important when we talk about conservation, and also talk about, like, there's a lot of discussion on connecting rivers and interlinking rivers, or connecting interbasin transfer of water. So these things are very, very important to understand that how these things operate at a very large scale. Okay, just to show you some of these rivers or freshwater ecosystems in different parts. So this is the Trans-Himalayan rivers. So this is the Satluj River from Tapi, one of the Indus tributaries. So this is again about the snow line. So most of this water is coming through snow melt. So these are glacial waters. So you have summer, there is a lot of water flow is there. Then you have this torrential sub-Himalayan rivers, especially in the Western Himalayas, very fast flowing, very hill streams. Or you have the Eastern Himalaya tributaries of Brahmaputra, mostly coming from Arunachal Pradesh or part of Tibet. So these are very fast flowing cold water. So why I am showing these things are because they all have distinct fauna. So different part of the ecosystems have, these are Eastern Ghats, again Brahmaputra lower plains in Assam, or you have again hill streams, or you have like unique wetlands like this Loktak Lake in Manipur. These are Fumudis, they are called, these are protected areas. So they have unique wetlands. Or these are, if you go to central India like Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, you have this Chambal river system, part of the Yamuna, or it will ultimately go into Ganga. So these are also unique riverine ecosystems. And you have coastal wetlands. So there are several coastal wetlands both in the east coast and west coast. Both are, some of them are purely freshwater, some of them are seasonally freshwater. So they also hold a lot of biodiversity. Then you have like large lagoons, again partly saline and partly freshwater, like this Chilka Lake. Or then you come to Western Ghats. The Western Ghats is one of the global freshwater biodiversity hotspot, and especially for fishes and freshwater crabs. So you also have like high altitude streams and peat bogs. These are another ecosystems. These are the high altitude streams and peat bogs. Or you have waterfalls. So these are unique. They also hold unique fauna, distinct from the rivers and streams. Then you have again very high altitude streams, again Himalayas. These also have distinct fauna. So they are like hill streams with very good riparian forest, or you have like unique wetland ecosystems like Meristica swamps. This is a picture from Kerala, but you also have Meristica swamps in Karnataka, like in Kathalekan and other places. So very good, very unique, and very primitive ecosystems, which holds a lot of very ancient lineages of plants and animals. Or you have these man-made ecosystems like these paddy fields. So these are seasonal wetlands. They also hold a lot of freshwater animal diversity. So these are like, there are different cultivation practice. These are Apatani rice fields in Zero Valley, Arunachal Pradesh. So these are unique paddy fields, which are World Heritage Sites, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which they are bio-friendly agricultural practices, which conserve a lot of freshwater fauna. Or you have again man-made ponds, agricultural ponds, mostly man-made. Or you have large reservoirs, and even urban lakes. Like the urban lakes are unique in the sense that their conservation requirement and challenges are very different. And like CS has done a lot of work in this area, urban wetlands, conservation of urban wetlands. So you also hold a lot of biodiversity in these areas. So about like if you look at the global biodiversity, more than 1.6 million species are described on Earth. Of this, about like people are still discovering a lot of species. So about 1.26 species are freshwater. So freshwater species, and like in India, about 10% of species are freshwater. So about 10,000 species of animals are freshwater. Then you have about another 800 species of angiosperms. So of this, 50% of them are arthropods. Like about 6,000 species of arthropods are there in Indian freshwater, mostly insects. So this is a graphic representation, but this number is changing regularly. So we have now more than 5,000 species of freshwater insects. So the arthropods, if you look at crustacea, arachnida, insecta together, they form bulk of the freshwater biodiversity. Okay. And they are the important components of the freshwater ecosystem. So, like just to show you some of these freshwater animals which are very important. So these are polychaete and oligochaete worms. These are annelid worms. So they are very important. They are mostly found in the benthic organisms. So they mostly feed on detritive ore, and they are very, very important. Especially oligochaetes are very good indicators of water pollution. So if you have good population of oligochaete, means you have a very high pollution of water. And you have, I already told you, that crustaceans, decapod crustaceans. So there are several species people are still discovering, and this is one example of decapods where we have very diverse group. Then similar to decapod, there are several planktonic crustaceans are also there, like ostracods or cladocerans. So very highly diverse group. Then you have aquatic insects. So this is again very diverse. I told you nearly 5,000 species of aquatic insects are there in India. But I'm not going to very detailed taxonomy of these things, just to show you different diversity. So there are groups like Ephemeroptera, mayflies, Plecoptera, Megaloptera. So these are all found in different types of wetlands, and some of them are found, like for example, Plecoptera is found exclusively on hill streams, but dragonflies, you can see them both in the hill streams and other places. And the Megaloptera is exclusively found in, again, on hill streams, especially in Himalayan regions. So Ephemeroptera, again, you can see both in lentic and lotic ecosystems. Then you have like other very diverse groups like Coleoptera. These are beetles, aquatic bugs, then Diptera, Trichoptera. So these are very diverse groups. So nearly 5,000 species of them are there. Then just to show you some of the morphological diversities, like for example, dragonflies and damselflies. So, or these are mayfly larvae, just to show you how diverse they are. Their body parts and mouth parts all are adapted to live in freshwater ecosystems. So just to see the diversity of the morphology, so to show that they adapt to different aquatic conditions. So some of them live in very high, fast-flowing freshwater ecosystems, some of them flowing in slow-flowing ecosystems. And most of these are found in highly oxygenated water. So they are very good indicators of water pollution. So if the water is polluted, many of these species don't exist there. So this is a different dragonfly larva, just to show you the morphological diversity, how diverse they are. Different families have different morphology. Again, this one. This is a beetle larva, again found in Phinidae, found in aquatic ecosystems. Then some of them have very interesting life cycles. So like for example, some of them like this mayfly survive only for 1 day as adult stage. So the most of the life cycle is spent as larva, and they emerge and they mate and they die within 1 day. So they are not feeding, adults don't feed. So their only purpose to come out of the water is to find mate and lay eggs. So that is called, they are called ephemeroptera. So they just live for 1 day. So then other very common aquatic insects are aquatic bugs. So they are also like very diverse. So you can see them in all aquatic habitats. Just to show you like very diverse morphology. So different, so they are so diversified. So you have so many groups are there. Then I already aquatic beetles, again very diverse. So in the terrestrial ecosystems, the beetles dominate. So nearly 80% of all known diversity, all known organisms are beetles. But in aquatic ecosystems, it is the flies, the dipterans, that is dominant in terms of diversity. But still, beetles are highly diverse. So India, we have nearly 700 plus species of beetles are there. So if you look at the diversity of bugs, so nearly 280 species of aquatic bugs are there in Indian systems. So I told you like beetles, diptera. So India, we have more than 6,200 species of beetles. Flies are there. Of this, nearly 2,000 species are found in freshwater ecosystems. So like very important ones like this black flies, which transmit onchocerciasis, like river blindness, or mosquitoes. So these are all very, very important species in terms of human and veterinary health, because they transmit many diseases. Like for example, black fly. So black fly is breed in streams, hill streams and rivers, and they transmit disease. Like fortunately, it is not a big, they don't transmit disease in India, though the species are found in India. But in African, sub-Saharan African, this is a major public health concern which transmit onchocerciasis, that is called river blindness. But mosquitoes, we have several species of mosquitoes. So more than 330 species of mosquitoes are there in India. Of this, about 12 species are disease transmitting. So both malaria and dengue, filariasis, chikungunya. So all these diseases, several diseases are mosquitoes transmitted. So then comes, like already told you, there are interesting life cycles like this Trichoptera. I'll show you next picture. So these Trichopterans are aquatic. The larval stages are aquatic and some adults are terrestrial. The interesting thing is that in the larval stage, they make cases. So they make cases with detritus or sand particles or stone particles, and these things are used for as they live inside them. And this is very, very interesting and very unique in the animal world. So they make their own home and they will be staying in the water, and they are very good indicators of water qualities, because they are very sensitive to changes in water pollution and other things. So the good indicators of water quality. So this is a larval case made by hydropsyche. So hydropsyche out of stones. So I can show you pictures. So these are small sand particles they have used to make Liminifilidae larval cases. Again, Trichoptera, small sand particles which they have used for making cases. So they live inside these cases. Then Coleoptera, I already told you that I'm not going to. Then comes the freshwater mollusca. Again, very diverse. So there are about more than 200 species of freshwater mollusca are there. Though we have more than 3,000 species of mollusca in India, only about 10% of them, about 300 species of freshwater. Rest of them are terrestrial and marine. So high diversity is found in marine ecosystems, mollusca, but relatively less number of species are found in terrestrial ecosystems. So then comes the freshwater fishes. Okay, so these freshwater fishes are again very diverse. So we have more than 3,300 species in India. Of these, nearly 900 species are freshwater species. Okay, so high endemism. So nearly 50% of fishes that is found in freshwater of the Western Ghats are endemic to Western Ghats. So you can't see them anywhere else, and they are very, very interesting, both and also very important economically and also ecologically, because they provide so many ecosystem services. These freshwater fishes, and really we have done, like in India, we have a very good team of experts who does a lot of work on freshwater fishes. So these are some of these freshwater fishes that is found in India, or especially in the Western Ghats. So there are also subterranean freshwater species like this Enigma channagola, so which is found in freshwater ecosystems below soil. So there are, you may be aware that there are aquatic channels underwater which they use it for navigation, and they live there. So only during some rare occasions they come out through wells. So that time we know that these species are there. Some of them are blind also. So if you look at the global freshwater fish diversity, so as you can see that in India there are two major areas. One is this Western Ghats, and another is the Ganges Brahmaputra river system. So these are the two global freshwater biodiversity hotspots, so which is comparable to Amazonia or other Kongan Nile Basin or something. We have very high diversity of the freshwater ecosystems. Then comes amphibians. So amphibians are also freshwater organisms. So several species of amphibians are associated, especially in the hill stream. So many genera are endemic. Like for example, these Nasica batrachus or Nyctibatrachus or Indrana or Microsaurus or Gatophreni. So these are all endemic genera that is found in, even endemic families that is found in India, especially in the Western Ghats. So there are many of them are ancient lineages. Say for example, this Nasica batrachus is an ancient lineage. So these are all part of our freshwater ecosystems. Then comes birds. So the birds are like all these black dots. What you see are birds in Chilka Lagoon. So these birds are like one of the well-studied groups of freshwater ecosystem, because a lot of interest globally and also in India. So annually we do this Asian wet waterfowl census. So in the January we do it, and then there's a good data on the available of distribution of these wetland birds. So nearly 215 species of birds, that is about 1,300 species of birds found. 215 are found in the freshwater ecosystem. So they are, some of them are also found in coastal marshes or estuaries or other thing, but they are all found. So these are freshwater birds, aquatic birds, what we call wetland birds. Some of them have become extinct also. This pink-headed duck is called possibly extinct, because last it was sighted in 1930s. These are all possibly extinct wetland bird. And then comes our national wetland animal, that is Gangetic dolphin. So Platanista gangetica, it is found in river systems in Brahmaputra and Ganges. So recently only the census has been completed, and relatively the population is very stable, and we have very good populations in these areas because a lot of conservation measures are being taken. And this is a blind dolphin. So it cannot see, it entirely uses echolocation to navigate in the turbid waters of the rivers. So like if you go to like cities like Guwahati, you can see them even within city limit. Even in Calcutta, Hooghly River, you can see them. So it is easy to spot even within the urban limit. So it is also kind of, we can say that, part of urban wetland ecosystems, this one. Then you have interesting large mammals in wetland mammals. This is the Sangai deer that is found only in the Loktak Lake. I showed you the Loktak Lake. So this is called Loktak. They have a unique floating vegetation called fumudis. So in this fumudis, these Manipur dancing deer or Sangai survive. So this is the only population in the entire world where you can see this deer, this Sangai deer. Or you have this swamp deer, so called Barasinga. So this is also, we have two subspecies. One is in the central India, that is hard ground Barasinga. Then you have the wetland subspecies that is mostly found in Terai grasslands and Brahmaputra. So this is again we can say that one of the wetland species. Then you have this truly wetland species, that is water buffalo. This is the ancestor of our domestic buffalo, Bubalus arini. It is again found in very closely associated with wetlands, and it requires a wetland, and that wetland character has not lost even after the domestication. So if you have observed buffaloes, we will know that they always prefer to stay in water bodies. So to just to show you, I'm not going in detail, but because it's an entirely different topic altogether. So the freshwater diversity of a location, whether it could be a small wetland or it's a complex phenomena. What determines it is because it is determined by like the kind of bioclimate where it is located, whether it is Western Ghats, Himalaya, Gangetic Plain, where it is located. Then there are this lot of habitat heterogeneity will play, especially geology, like topography, geology, soil conditions, all those things interact. Then you have abiotic niches, several abiotic niches are created. Then what is the ambient energy that is available? Then what is the biotic niches available? What is the species present there? So all these things interact, and it will create a fauna community in a wetland. So this is the kind of fauna community what you get in a wetland is a result of several complex complex associations that is happening in a wetland. So but these wetlands are also facing lot of problems, especially in India, and it is under a severe crisis. So though we have very good diversity of freshwater fauna, that we are in a serious crisis of losing this freshwater biodiversity. So if you look at the global living planet index, so since 1970, the living planet index is steadily declining, and especially our freshwater diversity is declining globally. It is not, and when compared to marine and terrestrial ecosystem, the decline is very, very sharp, and several species are becoming extinct. So we are in the midst of a sixth extinction, especially for like amphibians. So more than 40% of amphibians are threatened, and also again fishes or several species are threatened, and this is largely man-made extinction. So I'm just reiterating what is already told. Like if you look at several species of freshwater species like bony fishes, gastropods, dragonflies. So all the assessed species, mostly it is a freshwater species that is being threatened. So it is largely because of our consumption pattern. So we are consuming more than what is Earth is producing. So we are consuming more than the biocapacity of the Earth, annual biocapacity of the Earth. And people have studied the biodiversity decline in several river basins, and biodiversity of more than 65% of world's water bodies, especially rivers and associated wetlands, are under threat. So under decline. So entire Indian subcontinent, if you look at, it's in large red patch, largely because of the way we treat our water bodies. So this has resulted also in the acute physical or economic water scarcity in our river basins. So most of our river basins are highly stressed due to various anthropogenic factors, very diverse anthropogenic factors, and the situations are very, very bad, and it will be becoming worse in the coming years due to climate change and other areas. But like you may know that that entire Himalaya is also called the third pole of the world because of the role it plays in controlling the global climate. So it is like we have north and south pole. So similarly, the Himalaya is considered as third pole because it also plays an important role in controlling the bioclimate. And several countries in the Himalayan regions are dependent on the Himalayas for their water requirement. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, all this Thailand, all these South Asian countries and Asian countries are dependent, and the biodiversity in this Himalayan region, freshwater biodiversity, under severe threat due to various factors, and long-term conservation of this third pole, the Himalayas, is very, very important for not just conserving biodiversity, but also the livelihood and economic activity of the entire region. And I already told you, like, this is a complex activity, like these over exploitation, water pollution, habitat degradation, species invasion, flow modification. All these things interact together to create a freshwater biodiversity loss. And like there are several threats, like I'm just listing few, like dams, deforestation, forest fires, mining, invasive species, over harvesting. All these things are playing a role in declining freshwater biodiversity. Like invasive alien species, if you look at in Indian wetlands, so 7 species of plants and 14 species of fishes are listed as invasive to freshwater ecosystems in India. So this Icornia is a very common example found throughout India. Then this Oreochromis species, we have 2 species, Oreochromis niloticus and Oreochromis mozambica. Both of them are invasive. It is found in almost all wetlands in India, even in remote areas. Or you have this relatively recent invasive, that's Clarias garipenis, again found in several wetlands. Or you have like deforestation in river catchments, major cause causing the flooding and siltation of all these water bodies downstream and upstream. And then you have these hydroelectric projects where you have interbasin transfer of wetland water. So from one basin to another basin you transfer. So the entire downstream is become dry. So this is very common in Himalayan hydroelectric projects. To get the gradient, they transfer water. So you can see downstream is entirely dry. So this entire fauna is this one. Or you have this other phenomena where you have periodic discharge of water, like when there is a peak hour production during a night. So water will be released, and during daytime the water will be stopped. So entire it will go dry. So after a few cycles, entire fauna downstream will be vanishing because of this periodic drying and the flooding. So this is very common in our Western Ghats streams, rivers. Then you have like examples I'm giving, like huge infrastructure projects where they unmindfully dump all this overburden in the rivers, like this. Several places in Himalayas you can see this, like dumping waste in the rivers and streams, very common. Or constructing through the streams by deforestation of riparian habitat. This is again deforestation, riparian habitat. Or agricultural runoff. This is another major cause, especially when we use a lot of pesticides and fertilizers. So all the, in after rain, everything will end up in the nearby water body, because all the water bodies are mostly at the lowest point in a landscape. So all these things end up, or like even like intensive plantations in the catchment where all the topsoil is reaching in the wetlands. Or rapid urbanization in hill stations, like this is several hill stations we have, and if you go you can see them, like how much rapid urbanizations, and because all the waste they don't have any place to take, so they will just dump it in the river, in the stream. So like this, so like most of the hill stations you can see this in sewage distribution, or urban industrial pollutions, or mining. This is in mining in Goa, bauxite mining. So all these water bodies get polluted. Or stone quarries, Western Ghats, because of urban demand in like larger cities like Bangalore or in Kochi and other places. Lot of these huge quarries are operating in the Western Ghats, which is actually causing lot of damage to the surrounding freshwater ecosystems, especially streams. And during monsoon, all of these things end up causing flash floods and other landslides and other things. So this is a good example. Kerala, you may be remembering 2018. Then after that also we had a large scale floods in Maharashtra. So all these are largely due to like inappropriate use of management of landscape. So like it is not that people have not understood this phenomena. So a lot of studies have been there. So largely the like already I mentioned you that the freshwater ecosystems are declining rapidly. So people have found that it is direct pressures on biodiversity and ecosystems like the invasive species, overexploitations, pollutions. These are all causing decline. But there are indirect drivers, like for example, like urban demand, consumptions, resource efficiencies, population increase, or all these things are putting pressure. Like for example, we may be consuming some high demand for some freshwater species in urban areas, but that may be being harvested from a remote wetland habitat or for pet trade. So several species of fishes are directly caught through for pet trade from like foreign countries or even from India, but they don't breed in the captivity, so they have to be caught in the wild and transported. So there is a huge urban demand for like several such species. These are all because of this decline. Several of the uh, our ecosystem services which wetlands are providing, I already told you, like food services or regulating services or flood control or cultural services are declining. So this again, I'm just putting it in another graph, but this is same thing I want to tell you. But like there are decline in freshwater aquatic insects also, and people have studied that one because of global insect decline. So like especially land use change already discussed, or climate change or pollution, these are all affecting. And because of this, several species like invasive species or co-exploitation or co-extinction is also happening. Co-extinction is that when host parasites or associated species are becoming extinct, that species also go extinct. So this kind of phenomena is also observed. So people have projected that in another 50 years or another 80 years, like if you don't intervene for more sustainable life cycle for biodiversity, we will be going through a very uh, difficult phase in another 50 years. So we have intergenerational equity, so we are responsible for the future generation also. And to conserve these ecosystem services, we need to take action now. So if you take action, like if you allow rivers to flow more naturally, improve water quality, or protect and restore it now, then sustainable, or we may even have to do reintroduction programs and other thing, then we may be able to recover several of these freshwater ecosystems in the near future. So government is also doing several activities. So we are having more than 84 Ramsar sites declared throughout India for protection of wetlands, and a lot of effort is also being done. So and if you look at the legal framework, so we have lot of laws from 1857. We have this Indian Fisheries Act. Then there are several acts and other things for protection of wetlands. So we have maritime, so latest one being the Wetland Conservation and Management Rules 2017. Now recently we amended Wildlife Protection Act and Biodiversity Act. So all those things are provisions are there for conservation of wetlands. But at the level of policy implementation, so we are having a lot of difficulties because ground realities are very, very different. So with this, I stop now and I can take some questions.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to ask the participants to post your questions and the comments in the chat box, please. For the time being, sir, I have one question from Gagana. So she wants to know the effect of wetland deterioration due to anthropogenic activities on insect diversity, sir.
Okay. Okay. Effect of insect, or specifically insect diversity or overall diversity?
She is asking about insect diversity, sir.
Okay. So see, there are several effects are there. See, like several of these insects which are sensitive to pollution, there are decline will be there. But there are several species that can tolerate pollution also. So what happens is that when the water quality is declining or water is getting polluted, the sensitive species which are intolerant to pollution they vanish, or they go locally extinct, or they move out. But there are species that are tolerant, so they colonize. So if you look at sometimes what happens is that overall diversity may not change, but like if you look at overall number of species may not change, but the composition of the community will change. So all the pollution sensitive species will be vanishing, and pollution tolerant species will be colonizing these habitats. So that kind of happening is there. But the anthropogenic effect, this is one aspect. Other thing is that sometimes if it is getting too much polluted, like for example, lot of urban sewage or is entering into the water, so the species that will be found, very few species, mostly mosquitoes or the chironomid species, they are very tolerant to pollution. Even in drains, even highly polluted or contaminated water, they can survive. So that kind of species are also found.
Thank you, sir. Then there is another question from Arun Kumar S. Good afternoon, sir. How can we measure the anthropogenic pressure in the wetland?
Okay, so there are many measures are there. So you can do basic thing is that you can do physico-chemical measures. That is like you can do look at water quality, you can look at pollution load. There are several measurements for pollutions. Like you can also look at pesticide load. You can do chemical analysis whether or heavy metal toxicity, or you can look at whether there are invasive species are there, whether the other physical methods are there, like you have, whether the wetland is modified physically, whether they have constructed the changed water flow. Like for example, if it is a river, so whether they have constructed a dam. So once you constructed a dam, that itself the entire river character is lost. So that is one anthropogenic pressure. So based on whether what kind of riparian land use are there, whether there is a soil erosion is there, so you can have different measurements for measuring anthropogenic impact.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question is, what role can local communities play in the conservation of this freshwater biodiversity that you have mentioned? And are there any successful examples in India which are of community-led conservation initiative?
Yes. So, like several of these wetlands, no, like they are not in the kind of forest department or a government. So many of these wetlands are private wetlands, are also the community-owned wetlands are also there, like especially farm ponds and other places. So in several part of India, this is like good example. So several part of India, you have community reserves for conserving wetland, or you have a community reserve for, like there are sacred stretches of river. So they say that you cannot fish in this part of the river. There are fish sanctuaries are there. Like if you look at, if you go to Karnataka also, if you go to Sringeri, so Sringeri there is good population of mashir is there. So that mashir is not fished in that Tungabhadra river. Okay, and similarly if you go to northeast, Meghalaya and other places, there are several parts of the river that fishes are, you are not allowed to fish. So there's a good population of fishes there. So, and also if you look at Himachal Pradesh or Uttarakhand, so the mashirs are not caught. Mashir fishes are not caught. So they have a good populations of these fishes in stream stretches. So that kind of practices are there. So, but there are community conserved reserves are also there in wetlands. So there's Kadalundi, there is one community conserved reserve. So that kind of things are there. So some things they are considered as sacred. Sacred ponds are there. Sacred lakes are there. Okay, so Manasarovar is one sacred lake, but that is not in India, but that is in China. So similarly, there are several sacred lakes, high altitude lakes in Himalaya, several so these are all some of these community conserved measures where you can where people are conserving biodiversity, and government is recognizing them also as community conserved areas.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then next question is there any conservation status for dragonflies and damselflies in India?
Conservation?
For dragonflies and damselflies, any conservation status or conservation policies are there in India?
See, the like red list assessment of Indian dragonflies and damselflies have been done, but only about 10-12 species are under threatened or vulnerable category. But that doesn't give them any legal protection. And legally, only one species of dragonfly, that is the Himalayan relict, a living fossil, is that is protected under Wildlife Protection Act. So all other dragonflies and damselflies are not the legally protected species, but there are some species are listed as threatened or endangered. Not endangered, threatened or vulnerable. They have been IUCN as.
Okay, sir, next question is from Paras. Currently, people are found of having aquarium at their workplace as well as residence, and most of them are invasive species. How can we get rid of this invasive species, and what are the most suitable native species that we can have?
See, that aquarium trade is one of the major contributor for invasive species. So like if you go to East Calcutta wetland, so you have all these suckerfish, huge suckerfishes. No, so they are all like we grow them in the aquarium, and so after reaching a size, we just throw them in the nearby wetland, or we just flush them through the toilet. So what happens is that they are very hardy species and they can survive in sewage, and ultimately they will reach East Calcutta wetland. So 1 second, I just need to take this. So these East Calcutta wetlands species basically fully full of this invasive suckerfish species. So similarly, there are several species like this. If you like, for example, this crocodile. There is a crocodile species is there. Then there is piranhas are there. So there are several species that is being introduced through aquarium. And government is also trying to control this, but once these aquarium fishes have entered water bodies, it is very, very difficult to get rid of them. Okay, so there are, like, for example, there is a ban on cultivation of African catfish, but still you can get them in Africa because they are already established. So very, very difficult to cultivate them unless you have a very, very dedicated program to them. So what was the other question? You have one more question.
One more question is there, sir. The red-reared turtle also marked as an invasive species, but a few days ago that Ridhirup Shahu has spotted this turtle basking in the bank of Hooghly River, Kolkata. So what he should do?
Okay, so this red-eared slider is also an aquarium species that is being grown by several people, and what happens is that after reaching a size, it is very difficult to keep in the aquarium, so they just discard them in wetland. So they also have established in several wetlands, and people are like, we realize this problem, and they have started like there is a lot of awareness created and other things. So in some places like in Kerala state, what they are doing is that they are collecting whoever is having aquarium, this red-eared slider. So they are collecting them and keeping them in a big facility so that they don't escape to the this one.
Okay, sir, there are no more questions. So, in summary, you have highlighted the India's diverse freshwater animal life within the wetlands, ranging from the invertebrates to fish, birds, mammals, driven by various habitats and as well as their bioclimatic conditions. You have also emphasized on the alarming biodiversity crisis in entire world as well as in India, where we could see it is very high in rate. And we can see compared to other ecosystem, it is very high in freshwater ecosystems. And with these very high factors, there are many legal policies are there, but in the field level, it is very hard to see what is the thing. And this was a very informative session. Now I'd like to request Dr. TVR sir to give his insights for today's session.
So thank you, Dr. Subramanian, for an interesting talk. So you know that recently we got Aganashi Ramsar tag.
Yes.
Yeah,
all your work, so many years of work, sir.
Yeah, that is 25 years. We have put that all the details, all publication in the form of newsletter on our web page. It's available. All our publication we have put. And more importantly, we are also working towards the site management plan.
Okay, sir.
For the Aganashni wetland. If you have any details, you please share with us.
Yes, sir. I can share, sir. My field data, I can share it with you, sir.
Sure. And another thing is the Myristica swamp. We need to do something. There are so many people have worked. We all understood its ecological significance. but we have done little for its conservation. Since you are in the ZSI, can you think of doing something so that we can conserve it for a... See, essentially in Uttara Kannada, what I am noticing is people are converting it to Areca gardens, etc. So
this I think Meristica conservation we can I think we can have a separate discussion, sir. And we can, what we can do is that we can propose, we can map and propose them to declare it as community conserved areas to both like Karnataka State Biodiversity Board and also NBA we can approach, sir, to recognize them as a unique ecosystems and
no, that's exactly. We tried in our biodiversity board Karnataka. Some of these fellows are not taking it seriously. I think putting it through the NBA should be this one.
Yes, NBA we can approach, sir. I can help with that, sir.
Yeah, that is this one. So, anyways, nice. A lot of information you have given, especially the sixth extinction. You have warned us of the imminent threat. We all have to wake up and do something. Otherwise, our children will face a severe the food crisis, and also with the changes in climate, we will not have water on the earth. You must be wondering what will be the threat on the aquatic biodiversity of that region now.
I hope that doesn't happen, sir.
It doesn't.
The rivers are so huge and.
Yeah, that is true. That is what the thing. I hope there's the people who understand and see that ecosystems are not degraded.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Subramanian, for interesting talk and sharing your this.
Yes, we'll meet soon, sir. Yes.
Sure, we'll meet.
Okay,
then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best. Okay, bye-bye.
And with this, we come to an end for a insightful webinar on this celebration of World Aquatic Animal Day. We thank the speaker for sharing his expertise and extensive knowledge with us today. Thank you all the participants for joining us for your active engagement. We encourage you to keep an eye on IISc EIACP website and the social media pages for announcements about further webinars on live series. You can also visit our YouTube channel NVIS IISc for informative talks more on these environmental topics. Thank you once again for being a part of this event.